Welcome to the fourth episode of To Be or Not to Be, in this season, an architect. Today, as my guest, I have Tamara.
Hi.
She's from Montenegro, and I've met her during our master's in Sapienza here in Rome. And today we're going to talk a bit about how she came to where she is right now in her architecture career. She recently graduated, so she's exactly in the point of transitioning from studies to work life in a country that she's not from. So we're going to talk a bit about her story and what led her down this hole of architecture. I want to ask a bit about how you entered architecture. Was there anyone you looked up to around you that was an architect?
Mhm.
Or what made you, what kind of a process did you go through to enter architecture school?
Okay. So I come from a background that's completely my family. No one in my family is an architect, but everyone was so creative. Everyone in my family is economist, so I say that I'm a black
Really?
sheep of,
Yeah.
of family. But my granddad and my mom were always like crafty, painting, like wood crafting and stuff like that. So I always like looked up to that. And history of art, I was like very interested in. And then throughout my high school, I was like visioning myself, like what could I do? Like, what should I go to, like more different humanities, like law or something like that. And then with this like path of art history, I was like, okay, let me see like some kind of middle that it's also like going to benefit my future, looking for economical start there,
Yeah.
because I didn't think that I'm going to be in Italy at that point of like
Yeah, for sure.
in high school. So I was like, okay, architecture, civil engineering. I was interested in both.
Mm-hmm.
And then throughout my high school, I was like, okay, let's go more to architecture. Like this was my initiative idea, but I was going to like classical gymnasium school that didn't have like,
Okay.
it wasn't a technical school. So I did this like architecture preparations that I had like this path because I come from a very small hometown. So I was going to the capital. And I think that in that period of like in your high school years when you're still like on a rocky path, like you're still not that clear, that was like kind of struggle, and I was questioning myself. So I like set back myself from various reasons that we can talk about after from architecture, and I was like, okay, maybe this my doubts infected me to move to like something civil engineering, that it's going to be like exact like matter.
Yeah.
So I moved to civil engineering.
It felt more secure, maybe.
More secure and more like, okay, I have a work ethic, which I think that you also need like more like something that is like exact, easier to understand, because in architecture you have also like creative path.
Yeah, yeah.
And then so I did like 3 years of civil engineering, but throughout those civil engineering I saw that that's not for me, that it wasn't like clicking. So I moved to architecture back in Montenegro. Then I started getting my path of like doing the master somewhere outside on a bigger market. And then I was interested in conservation, that we both did. So I found the masters in Rome. And then
you're
now
here.
It got me here.
But it's interesting that you say civil engineering felt more of a safer option for you than architecture. Because I think for many people, architecture seems, because it's such a design-based process, that it's even a bit vague and maybe scary for people.
I agree, especially because, you know, at that point in Montenegro, it was like civil engineering was looked like something that it's like highly respected. Architects was like, we know, because it's many like commercial buildings and like growing industry, civil engineering, many investments. But in all of that stories, it was like civil engineering companies that are like
not architecture,
not architects. It was like, okay,
that's interesting.
Yeah, it was like, okay, this investors, this like civil engineering investing companies doing this and this and this.
Yeah, that's actually interesting, because I think in the other parts of Europe, especially, I'd say, I don't know, I don't really know actually, but to me, Italy, for example, it seems like architects are the ones running the project.
Yeah.
They are the project directors, not really civil engineering. But I'd say also in Turkey, sometimes you wouldn't necessarily hear about the architects, but you hear about construction firms that
I think that
are
because
run
we look
by
more for
those.
like economic aspects, like this is like a big investment. So basically, and then because I had doubts in design process, I was like, okay, civil engineering, it's physics, it's math, it's like something that if you sit down, I mean,
you can
90% of the people can learn by like, if you really dedicate yourself. So I was like, okay, I had this work ethic, I did fairly well in it. I was like, okay, let's do civil engineering.
That's really interesting though, because I feel like also in the university where you study in bachelor's, in architecture, you're taught a bit more on how to think and how to design rather than actually doing things. And maybe in civil engineering, that's the difference, where they teach you to actually how to physically get things done. But you also mentioned quite a lot of like physics and theory on that sense. Like, how was the civil engineering education?
Well, I had many fears for it because I was a great student in high school. But the only thing that I did bad was math and physics, which is kind of irony because like when my professor, like I remember him, like he was writing the grades in like final grades, and then he was asking Ariel like, what are you going to do? And I was like sitting in the first row, and I was like fully proud, like civil engineering. And he was very strict, and he like looked at me and he was like, you know, there's like lots of physics and math there. And I was like proud of it, because going back to that struggle, like I remember, which I think that many like young kids now, especially in high school, can see that, or especially like who is like living in small communities, doesn't have this background, because I still have it like vivid in my background. Like I wanted to do architecture, but I didn't have like a background to do it. And then, you know, teenage years, you're still scared of stuff. Like that we can go like further on with it. Like I would go each Sunday to the capital for this like preparation classes, and then you would have like 20 of us kids like free sketching, drawing. You would have kids from like design school and like different backgrounds. And then I came to like question myself, am I good for this? Because I had like completely different background. I was like outsider there, and different way of thinking. So that was a struggle for me, and then I gave up on that. I was like, okay, maybe I'm not for it. Let's move to something that I was like more secure.
I see. That's strange though. But how is the architecture exam in Montenegro then? Do you take a particular exam for architecture?
You take the drawing exam, which they give you like make a composition and like perspective and stuff like that. You do a math exam, and then it's like basic history of art, logistics exam.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so this like preparations was like perspective, freehand drawing and stuff like that. So, and also the scary part was that I think that period they took like 30 students or something like that from the whole country.
Wow.
30 or 40, I'm not sure.
Wow.
And then especially from the big cities, like when you have these like kids that are like doing amazing from this kind of schools, they have like different way of thinking.
No, for sure. And they grew up with the idea of that probably.
Yeah. So then I was like, okay, civil engineering it is.
Yeah.
But then I was like, different also. Like I saw that more as you grew and you find it different interests, especially since you like if you move abroad, like more independent viewing, you get different interests.
For sure.
And like find yourselves. I mean, we are still finding ourselves. Like different.
It's a whole process, I think, especially in fields like architecture or even civil engineering. I think throughout the process, you notice so many things you hate that you're like, that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to head towards a different direction now. But for example, when you changed within university from civil engineering to architecture, how was it the adaptation process to the architecture studies? Like, did you manage to finish still in 1 year? After your 3 years, or did it take you longer?
It took me longer because some of the courses were equivalent, and others were not. So we had to like take the change of because civil engineering was exact, like I don't know, wooden constructions, like iron constructions, mathematics, physics. It was like more exact. It's more like study, like strict, like old school. It had like some technical drawings. And like descriptive geometry and stuff like that. And then for like when I moved to architecture, it was like more of design process because like in reality my architecture, they called it polytechnics because it was like mix of engineering, economics and architecture. So basically you had like civil engineering studies, I don't know, those like mechanics and stuff like that. Then you had like design studios, landscape design, urban design, history of art. And then you had like 1 or 2 exams per year classes. I don't know, basic economics, or like economy of projects. So for that, I think I can say that I was glad I had this luck that all of my civil engineering like classes got like they were equivalent, so they got like registered, so I could only dedicate myself to architecture, because then it let me do like, because on the final years of my civil engineering studies before transferring, I was like, I can't like look at this anymore. I was like
traumatized,
like literally traumatized, especially since they were like so strict and old school and bunch of criticism and stuff like that. So I was like, I can't look at this anymore. Like, I want to forget it. I like a new page. And it was scary because that like civil engineering infected me so much that like everyone who saw me after like transferring to architecture, they were like, you're a complete new glowing person. Like, and then I finally like realized all the pressure and like the stuff, how much it can affect you. Because now when I see me in like those stages, I couldn't believe it, how much it can like affect you, to the point that like if you hear it from the stories, you would say, okay, like no big deal. Many people say like no big deal, it's like studies.
But also I think sometimes the stress comes from being in a spot that's not fit for you. That's what I was feeling in my bachelor's when I was trying to in a way fit into the contemporary architecture design world, and I was feeling so out of place. And you're in a competition that you're not even part of. Like there's so many people who are way ahead of you because they're passionate.
They're like finishing thing after thing.
Yeah, exactly. And that impacts both your success rate, because since you're initially not that passionate about it, you're already gonna be behind because you're not driven. And then you're behind because your brain isn't simply wired that way like some other people are. But the stress that creates is just so beyond. I hate that. I think the main like kudos I have for you is the decision to say, yeah, I'm gonna shift to architecture. Like this is not right for me. I'll try whatever it's scary. I'll just do whatever it takes to not be here anymore.
No, I was debating. I was like, because everything in my life I had it like planned and mastered, and I was like, okay, by the age of like 23 I'm going to finish all of my studies. I'm going to get employed and like stuff like that. And like after the first year I was like, okay, I failed both of the maths, I failed the mechanics, and like I was like the whole summer I was like, okay, I'm going to do this in August, like retake the exam in August. Next year I'm on it. Then next year came, I was like, you
still
couldn't
no.
like still no. Then you also had this like strict program and strict professor, old school professors that would like take such a harsh comments on you and make such a harsh comments, which I think for like a, I would say a kid or young person of like 19 years old that's in a new town, or like whether they are not a new town, but like no one was strict on us during like high school. It was like different, you were secure. But like when you have this like criticism, harsh criticism when you're like 18, 19, you feel like so small, and that like someone is attacking you, like you feel that you're never going to succeed. So I'm like, first year, like it happens like someone to fail, like retake the year. Then on second I was like, this is not going. And then I have to say, like I was like thinking, should I give up, should I like move to another country, like, and then I had a plan to go into Croatia, but then the pandemics came. And I was like, should I like take this year period of pandemics to do like study in civil engineering? I was debating until the last time. And I remember like first days of pandemic, like going through all the like books. It's like, I can't do it. And I was like, for this architecture, I'm going to like I'm interested in and willing to do. I'm not going to be like to give up. Like I have nothing to lose if I tried. And then with that point, I was like,
okay, I'm gonna switch.
I'm going to switch.
And how did you like functionally manage that? Did the university allow you to, or did you need to take some exam of some sort?
The university, because they were so similar, the programs, they allowed me to just take the transcription of records.
Okay.
and then just like
at the architecture courses.
At the architecture courses, and like because in civil engineering there was also like basic economy, so they just like okay, just the difference. It took me like also 2 years, which I didn't plan to take it, but because I don't know, if I had mathematics on like first year in civil engineering, they were on architecture in like second year, so that kind of difference, it was like different programs, so different like span of like stuff, because on my third year I had like, I don't know, 2 classes per semester and then my thesis. So
and for example, how was the architecture studies there? How many people were you in class? Was there majority design studios, or was it more, for example, grades driven, or was it more collaboration?
So basically it was much more people because I took it to another university, and that was like polytechnics, but it's like small like space. Montenegro is like small, so all the like universities like work together, like it's a collaborative like stuff. So I think it was like 60 or 70 people
in the class.
So it was like okay. And then design studio, they took us, like design studio started in the second semester and like continued through the whole of the year. The first one was like the basic infos, and then on the second and like third, fourth, fifth, and so on semester, it was like majority of like different designs, but also different like sectors. 1 year you would have like landscape architecture, you would have like urbanism for 2 years, then you have like design studios. But I think that the balance was good. There was also like some kind of like a mix, if you like, I don't know, you have, because they like prepared this like also for like kind of if you decide to open your own studio, like management in architecture. So I don't know, like 1 semester you would have landscape architecture, urbanism, and design studio, but then to fill in the credits you would have like, I don't know, management or like environmental.
That's really
stuff
smart
to be like little more like balanced. So that was like kind of like interactive and more relaxed, I would say. For the like collaboration, I think the first year we got affected by COVID. Because there was like that second quarantine, and that was only like the minus, but it's not like anyone's fault, because I think the people who were in the first year back then and who didn't have like background, they expected to be like more collaborative, more introduction to design. But I remember we were like left on our own. They were like, I remember second semester we were doing houses like in different cities in Montenegro. Everyone got like one town and like some site plan to do a house based on criteria. And then they were like, okay, this is design. From next class we want to see like concept ideas. Which I think from someone who didn't have like background
anything, it's a bit
like
of a stretch.
Because I remember like my first class, I was like, okay, I went to the point of like civil engineering, but I think that my mind was still in like this exact like space of like stuff to do, like exactly
like more orderly, not really spending so much time on concept.
And then I remember, I think that everyone would be like so ashamed, and I'm also ashamed that I see it now, but that's like the progress of growth. And I had like this mountain city to do, and it was like a mountain high house. And in this town they have it like based on like period of Yugoslavia. They have like this brutalist monument with different types of roofs, and for residential, but like very interesting. And then for residential house, I decided to do like this concrete house with different roofs, which for Montenegro is not very like particular. Like if for mountain it would be like wood or like something more airframe houses. When it's like all nature and like not very well infrastructure.
And you're like,
and then like concrete, and it was like
this civil engineer.
And I remember like it was like 2 stories like house, and it was like 2 of them together with like this huge concrete walls, and then in the middle it was like a smaller one. And then I was like, look, they didn't even have a layout, so I was like, bam, picture, take it, like take it or leave it.
Here's my concrete box. That's literally like best representation of civil engineer tries architecture.
I was like, with no background, because I didn't have like design process, that you think now, okay, what is going to go with this, like side,
like what's the
like
surroundings,
surrounding, what blends. No, I was like, you have a forest, concrete house, another forest.
That might be like 1940s Italy. That Italian brutalist period.
So yeah.
Was it group projects or mainly alone?
Which was for me like surprise when I came here, but it was everything was like single, like your own project
Sonia
design.
said the same thing. Yeah. She also had it. All of them was individual.
Yeah, individual.
In my bachelor's, everything was group. I was about to kill myself. It was so difficult. And imagine you're like 18, 19 years old. You have no clue how to deal with people. And obviously, Italy being Italy, they give you no guideline. So you're like so small and so have no clue. And you're trying to manage like 3-4 people
and
with
also
zero guideline.
With like zero experience.
And like the division of work is so crucial that no one really showed us how to divide, like how to find like strengths of your group mates. Like before teaching us how to do group or task management, they was like, yeah, now you're in this group that you came up with. I think that's also sucks, by the way, because eventually there was these superpower groups that didn't share anything with anyone, and then there was these people that were left behind and were struggling, and we were collectively lost. And then it's so uneven, like even in skill set wise. Like okay, second year, third year, let the kids choose their groups, but first year at least
since
have
you don't
some
know how,
randomness.
like, stuff like function. For me, it was, I had to say that neither of the stuff is like ideal. I think that some of the mix, because now we had like design studio that is individual. And I think when you're doing individual, it's great because it lets you like do the stuff your way of thinking and like creativity, you know how to like which goal of your thinking it is. But when you're doing in a group, like mostly everyone now, all the studios and your work is like teamwork. And so some kind of mix would be like
definitely because then throughout my bachelor's, this is confession time. I think I haven't done a single 3D model on my own. That's, I think, shocking. If I heard one of my students now tell me that, I would be like, that is alarming. That you did not do a single 3D model on your own. And the only reason was I was good at 2D stuff. So whenever I was in a group, I would say, look, I can contribute as much as my power in the 2D stuff, but can someone please take care of the 3D? Because I wasn't confident. I had the sort of luxury to step away from it for an endless period of time, and that never really pushed me through to actually go through the discomfort of learning it. And then I learned it. Eventually, thank God I can do 3D now, but
I still stress about it.
But that's why I find it like so strange that literally, Tamara, the only time I did a individual design project was the last semester of my master's.
Really?
Yes. It's shocking, I think, like for so many students
for last.
And it's
grand
like
finale.
And it was with a very crazy professor.
Cut it out.
God, she told me once, this design, how to say it kindly, is very banal. Is very boring.
No, let me tell you, like, for this criticism, the fun part comes. Now, I remember first year of civil engineering, we had this professor, very strict, very like from the times of like Yugoslavia, you know, this communism, like stuff, like order. So I remember technical drawings, it was floor plan of some houses, I remember. And he wouldn't send us a PDF, you would go to the announcement, like, I don't know how it's called, like the box outside, and like take a picture, and like, but it's also like all the drawings, like from the stuff, I don't know. At that time, He didn't
discover computers.
No. At that time, I broke my left arm, and like I draw with my right one, but left is like for the support.
Yeah.
So basically,
the emotional support.
So basically, first or second semester, I don't remember. Second, I think. So we're drawing everything on paper, like big T ruler and everything, and you would tape the paper on the table and put everything. And he would like, we were in 2 classrooms. We would have like hallway 2 classrooms, and like all the doors were open, so we would hear him going from one room to another. Meanwhile, he was like very old but very tall and like big. And then he would just like go and see. So this time I go and ask him, like, Professor, can I go like earlier? Like I'll finish it, but I have to go to the doctors like to check it. He's like, okay, like sit down and like tape the paper and blah blah blah. No, he told me take off the paper and like from the like take off the tape. I was like, okay, I'm waiting for him. He comes and he's like, why did you take down the tape? And I was like, you told me. He sits on my place. I'm standing next to him. And he calls all the class from both groups and to call, like, come to their table. And I'm sitting. I was like, at that point, I'm like 18. He goes and like thinks about it. I had one line. It was like some stairs or section or something. I don't remember, which was crooked because it was like I couldn't do it. Like my arm was very weak or like small. He goes silent. And like he's like, do you help your mom around the house? Which like this criticism is insane, like to do it. And I was like, okay, I help her. And he's like, I wouldn't tell that you help it. And I was like, okay. And he goes and he's like, this trays. He's like, you copied this. I was like, how can I copy it? It's like put in. It's like it's taped. Plus, it's like you have nowhere to copy it. But like, what am I going to take the paper and put it on an announcement table? He knows that I'm like very like I can based on my skills like just like 1 week or like 2 weeks. He goes with like red pen, crosses everything. Mind you, I was like very emotional at that time, like
because your emotional support arm is broken.
I looked at my
arm. You have no support.
Meanwhile, it was also like February or March, so the cold weather didn't help. Like the dark at like 4 p.m. kills you even more. So basically, I was like, I'm not going to cry. He looks at me. He's like, now cry a little bit. What? I'm shocked. Like he's like, yeah. I was like, I'm not going to cry. He's like, you should cry. Mind you, he's like 60 at this point. I'm 18. Like imagine like grown person telling you this. That it's professor that did all of their.
I find that insane.
And then he's like, you can go now. And then I go, I don't know, like fully drama. Then he tells like my classmates, he's like, well, maybe I overreacted.
Oh, no shit.
And then I think that he got like a little bit like, felt a little shame because like the next class he told us our grades and he was like, well done. I was like,
I hate him.
So the criticism is like very, I don't know, I'm now used to it. So now I'm like, okay, God. Let's put this song on. I was like, no.
Yeah.
Because I had like the dean, like another story that I had, and I think that many people like can say the same. Like I was going to the math test results or something, like waiting for something consultations. So I was like waiting in front of the professor's office. The dean passed. I was like, hi, how are you? What are you doing? I was like, I'm expecting like this math consultation. So like, he's like, oh, how, you failed and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, yeah, I did. He's like, well, maybe you should go to a village to take care of the sheep. Maybe like faculty and university is not for you if you failed math. And I was like, nice.
Thanks.
So for criticism,
wow.
I mean, it's insane to that point.
Yeah.
That, like, okay, constructive criticism
always
is like always, even for your project or like even for you, if someone can take you like, okay, maybe you can work on your like design, like thinking, you can read this book, watch this video, it's okay. But someone, okay, this is not for you.
Yeah. No, that's insane. Just strange. But I find it now looking at it, I find it so strange that these people at this age
same as like
are raising their egos with tiny children. It's a child.
Same.
What did you gain from this comment? Are you feeling so much better now? That's just insane to me.
Yeah.
why would you say that to a child?
Maybe to the point that they can say this stuff to their like partners or stuff like that in the field.
Exactly.
So they need to take it out
Yeah.
on someone else.
It's like, just shocking to me that people can say such stuff. I don't know who I was telling it to. We had this one like technological design studio or whatever, and this is like the second year, first semester. So I had like a hell of a first year. It went all the way horrible, and from half of first year, COVID had already started. So this is the first semester that we are back, sort of. Anyway, so we were designing this Olympic Village housing, and it was like maybe the third month of the design, and there was this problem of having an elevated ground floor because I wanted to put some like polyclinic, like nursery rooms in the first floor, like on the ground floor. So they needed a bit of privacy, so I had to have them a bit higher. So I, like almost every house and apartment in Italy, I put a couple steps, so I raised the ground level a bit higher. It's done literally in every apartment in Italy. Anyways, then the professor's assistant asked me, okay, so how are you gonna fix like the ramp issue because it needs to be accessible? I was like, yeah, we actually set like a space for the electric ramp, like the additional machine. And she goes, ha ha ha, what year are we in? That's basically being racist against the disabled.
Then like half of the like people are racist, like that have buildings.
And she was Italian. And, like, it's like, even in our university building, we had so many stairs that didn't even have the electric ramp. And it's like, you cannot seriously be telling me, just a second year student that has no clue, and I'm from Turkey, like, okay, here also the blind guidance street marks doesn't make sense, but in Turkey most of the time those guide marker lines end up in risky spots.
Same in Montenegro, like.
So it's like I don't come necessarily from a background where I've seen such a good example of accessibility in the city. Not like I'm from Sweden and like you see my face.
Please understand this.
Yeah, and like I thought of putting an electric ramp. I was like, I'm being so accessible right now.
The thought is important.
Yeah, and then she goes like, oh, what year are we in? Ma'am, you tell me what year are we in?
Sorry for making stuff for everyone.
No, I was so disappointed. I was like, I can't believe I've been called a racist, first of all. Like,
nice.
Yeah, thank you, Italy, for choosing me as the racist.
If someone has to be, it will be me.
Yeah, because none of our professors are racist. Wow. But for example, in the education style, what's the biggest difference you see here in Sapienza than in Montenegro? Like the way the university is.
Well, my second architecture university was very modern because it had like many collaborations with like outside universities and programs. But I had to say that because it was also private university, so that's a big deal. But it wasn't to the point that many people have like stereotype private university, everyone can finish it. It was like private, but it reflected more into the way, I don't know, do this program, this extracurricular stuff, like blah. It wasn't anything fancy, like most normal. It wasn't like different. It was the same amount of paying and like scholarships, so the same.
Okay.
But the public one, it was more like old-fashioned. The professors were not like reachable, and they taught us stuff from, I don't know, that were in like Yugoslavia that like none doesn't exist for the last 30 years. And it was like more of like that. Here the main difference was like, I think that professors were, even at the times they don't seem reachable, they were like more reachable. Here I mean they don't seem like that, but I think that for me, at least for me, I had this like working ethic that like if I wanted to do something extracurricular, they were like always like there for help.
Yeah,
I don't know, some of them, my professor, I was like, okay, I like this bridge for our survey class. I was like, I like these Roman bridges. I would like to do something for the Balkans, like similar Roman style bridges in the Balkans. And they're like, yeah, research it if you need the help, like, of course, even to like publish in that. It also goes, I think, into more into depth from like basics.
Yeah.
But using like modern technologies. And then I think that was it. Maybe something was like, but I think that it was more like detailed and more like, okay, basic, like, and also like more research. I think, at least for me, it was like more research related to do.
I
Like
see.
in bachelor's, you would take like just like these resources and that's it. It was only like maybe one class that was like, okay, let's go to the site.
Yeah.
Here we had like more like, let's go to the site.
Yeah.
And, like you should go.
I really like that. Yeah. Because for me, architecture is so, it has to be like touched with hand.
Yeah.
And in, I think, so many, well, additionally, obviously, there was the COVID difference, but for me, the bachelor's was really lacking the tangible part where you could actually go and feel the architecture.
Because that was also look at it the other way.
Exactly. And it's like, it lets you really appreciate the built space much more than just seeing it on a screen. And I think that's definitely a big positive. I think I've also noticed here, because that was the main reason I actually chose conservation, because that was the only class we actually did a project outside of classroom. We would go to this one wall that each group would survey, and we spent maybe 6-7 weeks at the spot taking measurements, taking photos, actually spending time to take the measurements and noting down stuff, drawing stuff. So I really like that, like, physical being there aspect of it. And I think here they really managed that well, especially with the history of architecture classes. We really witnessed the evolution of so much in architecture. But according to you, what do you think architecture school contributed in your understanding in architecture, both positively, and what do you think it was really missing?
Both positively, I think that like it more profounded my thinking and more of like a path to like which one to take. And like the stuff that I wouldn't like think about, like maybe like accessibility, or like some materials or something. I think that it like profounded even more to be like curious and different, like some stuff that I wouldn't be like interested in to like consider maybe like doing. And then, because for example, I didn't like I still didn't plan to like do that in life, like the urbanism, but or didn't think about it. I mean, of course, I saw, okay, this is bad urban solution, this one is like good, but I didn't look too much into it. Like, okay, the identity of the city is this, urban grid is this. But then when I went to like with 2 classes of like urbanism, I was like, okay, like this is interesting. Maybe I'm going to like observe this stuff more, like think about this more, because like, I don't know, 15-minute town that the stuff should be like reachable, all the services should be reachable to within the 15 minutes. I didn't think about it. I was like, okay, this takes me like, I don't know, half an hour, like whatever, like, or stuff like that. So it kind of like profounded my way of thinking, and like took me like, I think it framed me more as like a person, like to kind of like to see which are my interests.
Yeah, I think a big portion of architecture school, also for me, is the point that it opens your eyes to think and see differently. For me, that's the biggest change I noticed in myself before and after studying architecture, especially as you're saying, like walking around the city. I think it is very true that people say and make fun of architects like not shutting up, and at the same time we just can't help but now notice like certain things that most people don't even pay attention to, because now we are sort of in the position or asked to analyze it or think about how it is done, why it is done that way. Because most people just know it is there, but they don't think, oh, there's someone behind a computer or on top of a paper actually thinking about these two lines intersecting, or this distance being this much. But Sula mentioned something very similar in episode 3. She also said she hadn't really thought about urbanism or urban scale as a concept before architecture. So it's interesting to hear several people noticing the urban scale.
Yeah, I mean, like a banal point that you don't think about. I mean, you know the stuff, but like landscape. Yeah. And I remember like this, like doing landscape in bachelor's, and the professor telling me like, okay, make a list of all the plants that you're going to use. And I mean, you know, like a general that you're not going to plant a palm tree on Alaska that then goes and go. But then I was like, wow, every tree is important. Like it creates the identity, the atmosphere, then also the climate and the biodiversity. I was like, okay, this is a different way of approach, and this is like fun.
No, but for sure. Like actually having the time to think about design, I think is so nice, because then you are so intentional with the space you create. I think that's in a way the beauty about having the money to have the time to design.
And now it also like I'm very happy to do it, because I was like always vivid. But the architecture school, because of all the professor criticism, questioning, it makes you like question. I remember the first class of my first design studio, and the professor was like, you can't say that this, I don't know, wall is pretty. You need to explain why it's pretty.
Absolutely.
And like, so now it's very fun for me, because I was like, okay, designing a place or like conservation, but like I can imagine like in the future, like as I'm deciding, like the kids are going to use this place. This place is going to be for elderly. How are they going to use it? Like I can now, it made me to this point of like, maybe for someone it will be too much, but I was like, I can like imagine the space like being used into like everyday life. So it's like kind of
absolutely. I think that's such a crucial part in like the teaching of architecture. I think you're absolutely right. The point of teaching intentionality and designing with intention is so important. And that's the thing I usually see when I'm teaching high school students in architecture. And I really notice that we have the tendency to sometimes copy or replicate things without really understanding why we like it, why we think it looks good or it works. But the real point to teach, I think, with references even, is to understand what was the intention and how can that intention be created again. I just find that so fascinating, and it's so difficult. It's so easy to say because it looks nice. But it's so difficult to say, because it's gonna serve this. I'm almost certain that it's gonna do that. Another problem I was having with professors in my second year was that so we had this one design project that there was this corner building that it was an old market building that was going to be demolished and rebuilt as a function was up to our choice. It just needed to enhance the neighborhood quality. I just wanted to have like a fitting rectangle corner to fit the city, but on the inside I wanted a curved inner space to create more of a cozy, even amphitheater space. The measures didn't match. I had no clue. Okay, like I wanted seating, but I obviously had no sense of dimension. So it ended up looking absolutely horrible.
No, 7.
I accidentally ended up like proposing this sort of I don't know, South American temple like curved inside, like absolute horrid structure. And the professor was like, this does not work. But the problem there was they would just say, yeah, this doesn't work. And then it's like, Well, what am I supposed to do?
Do you know what's my also, like, I hate this. This is like very realistic, because this is what, like, if you're going to do design, it's like it's very important and the crucial part. My most hated question that they would ask me is like, okay, but think about the investor. Who is going to pay for that?
Yeah.
It's like, think about the investor. Who is going to pay for that? And then it kind of like limits you.
Yeah. Because
like,
if we were thinking about investors, they would never propose such a project. I'm saying, like, let's demolish this, make it for full-on public good, huge construction. Like, no investor is gonna build that. The government is gonna have to chip in.
No, I remember doing, it was like my final year, first semester design studio, and it was like residential building.
Yeah.
But it was like kind of luxury, and I was like, okay, we can do this, we can do this. It ended up in like Eastern European communist block buildings, and I was like, and I remember me copy and pasting everything, and I was like, okay, let me do a little fun facade.
Yeah.
No. Basic white facade with like trees. Think about investors.
Yeah. If I think about investors, it's gonna be boring.
Yeah.
But for example, what's the biggest thing? So I personally know that you have recently started this internship. Do you see any connection of your studies with the internship you're doing? Like, do you see any connection between the actual job and what you've seen?
Well, now since I'm working in design, which is very different from art conservation, but looking for the background, I think that the thought process of design is similar.
Okay.
And now with all of this stuff that they say, okay, like, who's going to pay for that?
Yeah, now you have to think about that.
You have to think about it, and you need to adapt to them. I think the same thing is that you always have, because I did internship back in Montenegro, and it was like private investors, so we had like one-on-one client and architect meetings. So it was the same as like similar to meeting with your professor, because your professor, you need to convince him why is your project good, and then they give them like their feedback or criticism or positive feedback and blah blah. Now it's the same that as your client, they also give you a feedback. So I think that is like the same stuff of like selling it. The way that we are like taught about that is the same. Also the process is completely different, because when I did the internship back in Montenegro, well, at that point I knew my professor, so it was kind of more relaxed. But I remember like doing it in Italy or like, but everywhere it was the same question, or even now, I was like, okay, I'm so scared. I don't know anything. I was like, and they are going to be so disappointed with me. Like, I don't know anything. So, and then I was like, I came with this fear. But then I saw that it's completely normal. No one knows everything. And basically it was like, you're going to teach it, you're going to learn it. The process is the same, it's just like very different environment. It's more of like, in the university you could like negotiate it to do this, you had more freedom. But like, if you have to do it now for like work, if it has to be done, it has to be done. You just need to like get over it. There is like, if the client doesn't like it, it's his final word. There's no negotiation, or if it needs to like follow the rules. So I think it's like, that should be like the most
important translation of the job.
That you just like can't question it. If it needs to be done, it has to be done. Like, just like finish it.
But are you working now in Italian or in English?
In Italian.
Okay, that's a big challenge. How is that going?
Well, at the times I like block, and it's like very, because now I have to like read these regulations.
It's tough.
Which I think that like, even if you're doing it in your native language, it's like very different. You didn't talk about, or if you talked about it in university, it was like
10, very basic
10 definitions. And now it's like completely different, because then, like, I remember putting in Montenegro like the whole project together. And it was like, okay, it was like done. But now it's like completely different. It's like to the point that you have this stress about like not disappointing them, doing the design and doing everything in Italian is like,
it's difficult.
But I was like, both when I did like, this is like the second internship that I will say it, I was like, okay, because like I'm in Italy, let me try to do it in Italian, which I think that it's kind of like, a shame. I think many people, young people that are in Italy or any like foreign country that the official language isn't English,
Yeah.
they would much be comfortable and more free to do stuff
Yeah.
in English. Because I also like thought when I applied that, like, remember last year applying in English and no one would respond to me, like one person.
No, absolutely.
Which kind of like it sucks because that doesn't define you as a person, like especially since you're talking about like in the official language, like universal language.
And it's design, like my drawing and your drawing should teach me enough to that I can replicate whatever you need to do. But it's a shame, like I think here especially because we're doing design, I'm a bit disappointed that they're so limited to Italian. I understand obviously regulations need to be understood from Italian, but
it doesn't tells us we need to do regulation.
Exactly. Like, and it's like, even if it's a small studio, it's the fact that everyone has their own strengths and weaknesses. My speaking Italian is not my strength, but I can do other stuff for you. So if you hire me, I'm going to be able to cover for stuff that you're not willing to spend time on, so you can do your stuff in Italian. But I don't think a lot of the studios see that, or they don't want to go through the trouble.
For me, it was also like they were very limited, because at one point I had, like, for the last ones, I had to say, I know this in program, but I'm also willing to learn another one in a short period of time. And I think they, like, the problem is, like, they see you, like, that you maybe don't know some of the program they use, and they cut you immediately. They are like, I don't know why, it's like they don't think you're willing to learn.
I've been listening to this other podcast called The Future Blueprint. It's amazing, by the way. I recommend to everyone. It's two Irish architects. They are, say, I don't know, 9 years ahead of us, and they have been in practice for a while now. And one of them said, if an office says, oh, you don't know Revit, we are not going to hire you, let them not hire you. If they want someone just to have them use Revit, they can find a Revit professional. But as an architect, you should be hired by studios that are willing to listen to your design ideas and your designer architect impact, rather than your mechanical skills. Because skills can be acquired in a short period of time. And especially BIM software, people make it seem so complicated, but it's so easy to learn in reality. It's so user-friendly, I think. So I don't know what's this fuss about, oh, you know Revit, oh, you know ArchiCAD, oh, but like, it's so easy to learn. Like, of course, there's many details, many shortcuts that you would learn over time.
If you do like one project with full details, or like you Google it or something,
there, I learned it. But I just find that to be like a lack of opportunity to grow here in a way. And so in addition, on top of that, what was the biggest struggle you faced abroad, being away from your home country, home's connections?
Well, the first was like, I didn't know how was the work environment here. And also, I mean, I knew the architecture, but you don't know how like studios function. Like do they apply for competitions? Do they do like, I don't know, in teams, or like is it smaller like offices? I mean, variety of stuff, or like what is their work ethic, or like do they focus on one project and do like one big project, or do like multiple at the same time? So I didn't know that. Then I also didn't know like kind of like what kind of the background. Okay, they can say beginner level, intermediate, with knowing of this and this and this, but I didn't know like what are they expecting from you.
Absolutely.
Because in Montenegro it was like, okay, like we need to get this done, like it was like expected for you to work like all the time and like finish stuff, and like that as long as you finish stuff too, you're like always working on something, like be ready to learn. It's great. Here I didn't know, like, okay, am I going, because when I was doing my first internship, I was like, okay, I'm doing this model, does this model need to be done now or like in 5 days. It was always like, oh, don't worry, or like always like uncertain, like unclear, like when do you need to do it. And then also I was like, my biggest struggle is like, how are they going to see me if I don't know something? Like, maybe they have like, okay, we are finishing in Sapienza, this like girl can know like everything. So I
it's
didn't,
a
like,
bit on the
like,
expectations.
especially since we didn't have like their elementary and secondary like background. So I think that also like kind of like puts you like as a person, like I don't know how is there like, how are they taught to work. And then also I think because I'm foreigner, I had like, there is the plus because we both speak Italian, so this is kind of like they look it differently. But I always like was thought, okay, you're a foreigner, there some Italian is going to be like have more advantage than you. They're Italian, they don't need to do their like paperwork for you and stuff like that. So I was like, always, it was always like, from legal way, from like my background, foreigner background, is someone going to hire me? And then also like, what are they expecting from me? Like, it's completely
exactly.
Like, different.
It's such a mystery. I think most of the time so far, in my experience, they don't know what they're expecting. They just have super high expectations of everyone, because the groups, the last studio I worked with, they were both quite experienced architects. One of them was like, she had 30 years, 35 years experience. The other one had around 15, maybe 20. And they expected me to be similar experience to the 15-year experience one. And they would get pissed at me for not knowing some stuff.
For me, the same, because
and it's like, what? You have my CV, you have my portfolio. You said yes to me. It's on you for saying yes to me if this is the thing you're gonna be pissed about.
For me, it was also like lack of, can't say understanding, but like understanding, because like Montenegro is like about 700,000 people. It's small, like I don't know, fourth, fifth smallest country in Europe. And then of course that you can do the same project in like Italy and in Montenegro, like based on the economical part, architecture part, and all. And then for me it was also like, they expected me like to do the same level of projects like they do it in Italy, with me like from Montenegrin background. I don't know, they were like expecting, or even like they had different methods of doing stuff in university, making models. I mean, for us it was like laser cutting or like by hand. Then they came like with this styrofoam cutter that they had like metal, and they're like, we do it like this in Italy, and they're like, okay, here you go, like,
here, this is how you do
this is how you do it.
No, it's very strange.
So it was very like expectations that, like, as you said, we should have like the same experience as them.
But I think that was even really valid for the masters. The fact that they accepted so many students from such all insane backgrounds, like, I can't understand. Look, I love Lemon. We have this classmate. He's from China and he's from art-based school. He had never seen structures before. His English level in the beginning, now it's great, but in the beginning was struggling level. He wasn't comfortable in English, for sure. And I just couldn't understand how was the election procedure was going. Like, this kid is from an art background.
Based on the country.
And it's like, you have seen the diploma, you have seen the transcript, you know that he had never taken a structures class before. And then the structures professor is an engineer, and she's like, oh, how come you don't know this? This is basics. She doesn't even explain the basics. Like, I don't know if you knew, the past year I've been teaching some of the Linda students structures
I didn't know.
as a tutor. And so many of them have never seen these in their lives. And the only reason I know it is because I graduated from an Italian university. I would have probably never seen it if I graduated from somewhere else.
No, for me it was the same, because we also didn't have like
this kind
of stuff. Or like, okay, you have history of art, but like history of architecture, okay, you know, like the basis and stuff like that. But I remember like first month of Sapienza, like of first year, and like remember they would take us to the bridge. Okay, the bridge was more simple, but to the Palazzo Borghese. And they're like, okay, sit and draw it. And like, I was like, oh, we didn't do it. I mean, you know how to start, how to look for it. But it was like so complex.
And we were like 80 students trying
sitting on the ground, remember? And I was like,
what were they expecting?
And then I remember I was like with people who draw greatly, looked at the stuff with backgrounds from like this. And I remember I was like, my poor eraser. Like, I think that I was the person who used the eraser the most in our class, because I was like,
you know, in the Russo's exam, he asked us to draw like the columns, and I was so stressed out for some reason. My hands were shaking, so I had the shittiest drawing. So he just goes, drawing not strong, but you understood.
No, he said to me at that point, because I was also like so stressed, and especially with people from that backgrounds, and he was like, what is this? And I was like, artist freedom.
Oh man. But yeah, in general, their expectations, they need to figure themselves out first before they say yes to so many people. There needs to be
like better selection process or something like.
It's for their sake as well. It's not just for us as students, but
because they will also receive better feedback. If someone never saw structures, professor didn't explain the basics, what are they going to write in like questionnaire?
They're gonna hate it.
So you're going to have, from 70 students, you're going to have like 40 who said that like the class was like okay, great. You will have like 10 who said okay, and then you will have like 20 who said like hated it extremely, hated it. How can you have like this ratio from like hated to like?
No, it's a joke. So Tamara, what would be the last question? Is your advice to the newly studying architects or students who want to study architecture?
My advice would be to don't be afraid to ask about the stuff, because now looking for my background, I was always stressed that if I don't understand something or ask, that I'm going to be looked like I'm stupid. And I'm confessing this to you, that I was always jealous of you because you always had a question. Leila would always be like, can I ask a question? And then she would ask something, and I was like, how come I didn't like ask that? And I have to say that like that my fear that I'm going to be like, because my biggest fear is like that someone is going to look at me that I'm stupid, which I know that is far from truth, but like that kind of also affected the way of like in that moment my way of thinking. And so I'd be like, okay, let's get this over with, and then I would like figure it out on my own.
Okay.
So don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah.
As they would say, there are no stupid questions, just stupid answers. So don't be afraid to
ask. So wise. We have a classmate who asks stupid questions. We know who she is.
Sometimes. No. Sometimes. So don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. Tamara, thank you so much for making the time. And it was lovely to have you. Thanks for the great chat.
Thank you.
And I started doing this.